Okay, so the claims are staked now. White's pushing forward as per Yellow's their agreement with Yellow. Yellow hooked up Gallop, heading up to Lumberton, which they're claiming. Red couldn't find anywhere they really definitely wanted to expand. They want some mines before they can guarantee they want to start laying track. The problem with that is Purple could cut them off. Purple, on the other hand, is grabbing the Maryville mine. They're also engaged in a deal with White again for Salt Lake City to Albuquerque. Of course, Red's picking up that big Salt Lake City to Pueblo. And that's possibly quite huge. Blue is running for Crusted Butt up there. You know, it's really a matter of, yeah, it's only coal, but that's really all I got. Except for that Leadville silver mine. And the gold for that matter. It's really all they can deliver from their area. They're stuck in this kind of, this is almost all coal down here. With the exception, Westcliff has some silver. Cripple Creek has a lot of, it has a really good gold mine. And some silver as well. Anyway, that's about the sum of things. We'll move on to the play. So Purple took their turn and hooked up their stuff, took their gold. Green, though, not only delivered that big silver, that was 11 silver, $4,400. Big load, probably the biggest we've seen yet this game. And they could barely carry it, which was kind of a shame because they would have liked to have dumped this Dylan Copper. Free draw off the deck. They had their prospector on the top. Wham, they got something perfect. Dylan's right there, all hooked up. They produced it. They didn't have anybody to haul it, though. They're going on the short end on the trains. And, you know, for the most part, that's fine. It's just copper happens to be at its max right now. It'll probably go back up after people dump here. And, in fact, the only other person with copper is down here on yellow. Question is, do they want to deliver it? Well, maybe. You know, they're also cranking copper out. They might hold off and try to get a little bit more out there. But they've got to go over a snow area. So they can't hold it indefinitely. Okay, well, continued on with the turn. When Red bought their big property, the Salt Lake City, the Pueblo card, it killed one of Purple's cards, and then I noticed Purple had been cheating. They were sitting on another card that really, I think one of the first ones killed it. I penalized them about $1,000 for that, maybe a little more. I think they're gonna run away with the game anyhow, so that's not a big deal. But if they lose by a close shot, we'll know why. But they were cheating. But you know, they have. Well, there's other people with two purples, so they probably have a third one kicking in here. Those are $5,000 each. I still think they're significantly in the lead, and they're going to continue pulling money because any other cards that are being taken have to be challenged at this point. Now, I wanted to peek here because everyone should know this. This is a Denver to Santa Fe card. There's no manifest of all the track routes, which is kind of a pity. But you kind of want then a manifest of all the mines as well. Denver to Santa Fe, that's a nice route. Nobody's got it alone though, so somebody's going to have to, you know, come to some agreement that that's a reasonable thing. This should probably be gone actually. Card 20 killed that, so we're going to see that anyway. Alright, onward. So all the loads have fallen, and we can kind of see them here. A lot of silver went, pretty much all of it. And nobody has any working silver mines anymore. The copper did not go. Yellow chose to hold. They've got enough trainage that they can haul it all, and they're not too worried about green pulling extra money. They would rather produce again, given that nobody else is selling, so it's not going to drop. Got the Denver to Santa Fe route, and we got a bunch of these. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. A couple more silver mines. Those could be huge towards the game. At this point in the game, a few thousand extra bucks, and that's what a good silver mine. Westcliff is and Telluride are both pretty good. No, Westcliff's not. There's a better Westcliff one. The Telluride is pretty good, actually, though. And that's right in purple land, and that's going to fall to them. There's almost no question. The only question there is, well, yellow might compete for it because they're heading up that way as well. Now, you could say to yourself, well, couldn't somebody just jump in and compete for it anyway? It's only $200 if it's worth $4,000 to the lead player. And the answer is yes. And that's actually a weird thing in the game. And we may well see some people poaching like that in order to pick it up. I don't like that about the game. It's actually one of the aspects that kind of disturbs me. But it does cut down on the luck a lot. If you have the best track, etc., people can gang up on you and take away your good things. The problem is, those good things other people can take away anyway, even if you're not in the lead. And quite often the value is there enough that they will, and they'll take half your profit away from you from it. And I don't know, it just sort of disturbs me somehow. Gold crept up a little bit. Silver plummeted. You may have some trouble getting that up quickly enough. Probably going to be making 4 or 5 a turn though, so it'll shoot up again. It'll just take a couple turns. The rest of the markets, not even touched really. I think I forgot to roll for Pueblo because nobody sold anything there. The IDE is high enough that the production can't really keep up with it, so the prices just all bang up against the top again. And we got a lucky roll over in Denver. That was at even and it went up 1. But other than that, most of those were nearly guaranteed to stay where they were. We're talking about on a roll of a 12 it might go down or something like that. And as the IDE goes up, 5 means that the minimum the minimum roll is like a 7 if nothing's sold there. 7 hurts lumber, but it doesn't hurt coal. So you can guarantee the price goes up by not selling. Kind of a weird feeling, again, but it pretty much works for the game. And when the dynamics are such that somebody's got a lot of coal, those prices do go down. I've got to buy some equipment. This should be done in the player's turns, but I didn't quite catch up in time. Alright, well, placements for this. I guess the 18th turn I knocked a little pawn over, so I can't be absolutely certain. I hope I didn't end up making this game a turn too long. I don't mind if I make it a turn too short, to tell you the truth. Although it is kind of interesting the way the game kind of moves forward. It's less so with this deck, but it kind of taps out as you go to the end of the towards the end of the game, where things, I don't know, maybe the metal mines and everything are mainly depleted. Yes, they still come out, but quite often this ends up kind of frozen with a bunch of stuff. Anyway, what we've seen is a lot less track building. Really, people have defined their track. They don't have a long period to go, and in some cases they don't have a lot of cubes left. Now this looks like 2. There's actually a couple of them kicking around elsewhere. Well, just that one actually, that aren't really in use. I can use discs or something else to indicate the shared ownership. You don't need a cube for that. But let's see what we've got. White and yellow have paired up for the Gallup to Santa Rosa line, as expected. Player 2, green. Green can't find much to do. So they're pulling off the deck. They're not building any more track. They're pretty much stuck where they are. The only question is, can they get some more cash somehow? They've got the Dillon mine. They've got Hot Sulphur Springs. Maybe they can draw a big silver mine or something like that that'll, give them money for the end part of the game. Their money's actually going to be decreasing, and we'll get to that in a moment. Player 3 is purple, who also is going to have some trouble. And they're running for the Telluride and Schofield mines. Schofield Red's going to compete with them with. Telluride, well, other people were interested, especially Yellow, who maybe they couldn't quite reach it. Yeah, they could. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. They could have barely reached it, I think, with the pieces they have. No, they only have 3 track left. So they'd have to pull something up in order to reach it. Now, they could pull something like the Mogollon that's kind of at the end of their line, or the Magdalena Coal that is fairly cheap to rebuild, and, you know, I'm not sure there's another Magdalena card. You know there's one because of the dot, but you don't know that if there's any more than that, and I don't really remember there being more. So those things, you can always rip up track and rebuild it somewhere else. You can get money back if you use a surveyor to rip the track up. That's always an option. But, well, that's a long stretch, and he wanted to collect the cash for that big passenger run for a while. So getting the extra $250 just because he didn't have an extra prospector this turn. Let's look who else. That was jumping to player 6 there. We were going to hit player 4, Red, who has grabbed the Schofield mine, but they're also challenging the Salt Lake City to Colorado Springs. And there's something like 9 spaces shorter on that. And they get a +2 for their being a single company as opposed to a dual shared line. So they're at +11 on the die roll. They're almost assured to get it. So it certainly seems like a good buy for them to go for it. 5 is Blue. Blue also doesn't really have any track lays. They got cut off here with the Santa Rosa track, and they're kind of stuck back here. In fact, they probably should be ripping this up. Let's take that and get some extra money for that. And that's how you know that you're going to be pulling track up. They're going to grab their West Cliff Silver, but get some cash off that, no question. Well, it's got a 2 through 8 depletion, so there is some question. And then over here, Yellow, we already kind of talked about them. They're looking at yet another track, another passenger route that's theirs, as well as other things. So they're going to want to buy another prospector. And just to remind me, I'm going to spend the cash now before I take the turns, because I tend to forget things easily. Actually, the hell with it. They knew they needed another prospector. I cheated, spent their $200 and grabbed that. You know, I do this every now and then. Playing 6 players at once, it's hard to keep track of what everybody's doing. So every now and then I gotta kind of fudge things. All right, let's get on with people's actual turns now. Well, I'm in the midst of player 5, the blue player's turn, and I had to cheat in his favor as well. Let me quickly go over what I did for him, and then I'll recap the rest of the turn up to now. So, if you remember, I was planning on ripping up track. Well, he only has 1 surveyor, and he needed to get to Crusted Butt because he was buying that this turn, or bought it last turn, and whatever. Anyway, must have been last turn because he didn't use his prospector. Did he? Yeah, no, he used his prospector on this West Cliff Silver, and in fact 2 of his silver mines died. The Marysville Gold mine died just as Purple reached it. So instead I built the track to Crusted Butt. Again, this is a matter of, you know, the long breaks that I take in between. I play maybe 1 turn a day right now because, unfortunately, The Witcher came, The Witcher 2, and I've been playing that yesterday. And other things have been intruding into my gaming, so I'll probably be doing a lot slower videos. Anyway, Prospector for Purple ended up in jail after fighting over Schofield with the Red player. Probably the biggest thing, Red's cooking some good money here, and they're finally beginning to rake it in. They've got 2 $600 routes. Of course, there's the possibility that Purple and Yellow have a shorter route to Pueblo than Red, and if they do, they may challenge Red as well. All the passenger routes are going to be in players' hands, however. This really hosed Green, though. Green was doing pretty well, not as well as Purple, but they were making up a lot of ground with their tiny little stunted track. And now it's clear that Red's going to be able to crank out some good money. Again, maybe not as good as Purple. Now, Purple's sharing all their track, all their big routes. Red's got 2 of them alone and may be able to pull a 3rd one. There's the Denver to Salt Lake City. who knows? Their route's not that much longer from Pueblo to Denver. We're talking, what, 4 for this? And 7, so 11 more spaces. So they were at 70, that goes to 81. Unfortunately, I think the green purple track is a little shorter to Denver because it doesn't include these 2 track lays. So I think they've got the shorter route there, which means red has no chance. They can't even attempt to take it. Even, well, I'm not sure about, if the 2 points put them above, I'm not sure if they could risk it. Anyway, other than that, one of the more exciting things, blue and yellow kind of came to an agreement. Yeah, let's not sell the gold. Green picked up this Pinos Altos gold. They can't possibly reach it. It's all the way down here, but they're planning on selling it. I'm sorry, blue and white came to the agreement. They're planning on selling it to the yellow player as a, hey, I want some of this cash. Give me that. Yellow probably wants to see where the gold's going to end up at the end of this turn before they buy it. So they're not going to buy it this turn. But, you know, green's going to make cash off this. They managed to run it. It got big 4 gold. They only paid 220 bucks. Well, there's no way gold's going to go down to 200. And they've got 4 of them on there. If they get half the value for it, they're doing quite well. Blue's going to have to sell their Leadville gold, though, because of this. And that will probably trigger, well, no one else has any. Yellow could buy this Pinos Altos mine and sell it now. So that's another option because they go 6th. So they're allowed to buy that mine from green and sell the gold on it immediately. And that might be worthwhile because it doesn't have a bad depletion rating. So they might actually agree to give half the money to green that they'd make this turn and then be able to maybe crank some more money later. Anyway, that's a quick update. Come back towards the end of, you know, when the last 2 players have gone. Indeed, the yellow player bought the Pinos Altos mine for slightly more than the half price. They paid $605. That gold will sell for $1,200. Speaking of big money, blue pulled in something like $3,600 and something, just on deliveries. Add to that their routes, another $500 here, a little bit there, whatever. But yeah, the combination of the gold that they sold piled up. They had 6 gold there, as well as tons of coal. They sold 13 coal over in Denver at full 140. Now that's going to dump the Denver price, but it's not that bad. You see, the Denver price can only go down 3. And they might well recover that in 1 turn. So there's kind of this cycle. Every other turn you hit one place and you just dump it, but coal doesn't go down that much, and it likely will come back up. The only time it really is a problem is when somebody's got too much to deliver to one market. But 13 is a lot, but Denver takes 16. That's why Denver's so important, is you can dump huge quantities there. All right, well, that gold has to be delivered. Now, what's important here, though, yellow can't run this mine again. They ran all their other mines, but they can't run the Pinos Altos again. It had been run once this turn, and there's a limitation there. Okay, so that's the end of the turn. I remembered with yellow to buy them a snowplow. They needed 1 more for the Gallup, the Santa Rosa line. Prices, well, gold went down as much as it can, but that's only a couple of spaces. So gold's still valuable. Unlike silver, it doesn't have these highs and lows. The one real gripe that I have, though, is that gold is not the most valuable commodity. I don't mind that copper, which weighs twice as much, brings in more money. I don't particularly mind that lumber, which weighs twice as much, can bring in almost as much. I am very bothered that silver, which weighs the same as gold, usually is sold at a higher price than gold is. Gold's price usually does not fluctuate all the way up to the top, or if it does, it's a rare occurrence in the game. It's only for 1 turn and then it drops back down and kind of hovers at the 300 mark, whereas silver is almost always being sold at 400. And that disturbs me. I don't believe silver ever reached the value of gold. I think it was always quite a bit lower, actually. I don't know if that's supposed to count that you have to, hire all kind of guards and everything when you're making a gold shipment or whatever, but it does seem kind of strange to have the gold valued that much less. Anyway, we're going into a new turn. There's no more passenger routes left, so 2, 4, 5, 6. Uh-oh. Drawn as an up card, discard this card, reshuffle the deck, and all undisputed up cards, and draw up new cards. So I'm going to pause here. We're getting a whole new hand, which means if you were holding cards out here that you kind of wanted, and I don't know if anyone is, the Dolores card, I know some people want it. If there was anything of value out there, it gets reshuffled in. Now the discards don't. It's not going to cause the used mines to come back to life, but it does get rid of all the stuff that was claimed. Make that unclaimed, okay? Anyway, a couple of things in Aspen, including a decent silver mine, mainly some coal, a little bit of lumber. Dolores came up with another one anyway, so that didn't hurt too much, leaving that out there. One of the real bonuses of this kind of designer edition of it, they may have tinkered with the cards and stuff to make the Southern expansion work better. I'm not sure about that. I remember having grumps about it, and I'm not seeing them develop recently. I don't think they're particularly damaging. But the biggest bonus is these cards. These are regular poker kind of cards. As you can see, the original set had kind of paper cards that you that were perforated and attached to each other, and you know, these are just so much better in terms of being able to shuffle and everything. They're also prettier, easier to see. They have location on the map, which I'm not sure the other ones did, but I find it easier to find it here because of the color, etc. The other ones were kind of black and white cards. I think they showed where something was, but it was much more difficult to read. Of course, the disadvantage, this map is tiny. The original map covered from here up in about this much space, I think, maybe a little bit more, and then there was an expansion that you drifted down, which could be good, could be bad. The expansion was kind of, I think, cheaper material than the original map. This one has a nice puzzle map, but it's been shrunk down, so it's very difficult to see and read. All right, up this one goes.